Today we are going to explore the horrible case of Stephen Wang'ondu Kanini and Daniel Mwangi Wangondu. These two are father and his firstborn son, and just like many firstborns, Mwangi was so close to his dad that even he was entrusted some of his father's businesses. However, this would tragically turn to a betrayal that would culminate in a fatal and cruel ending. This here is a story shrouded in misery, betrayal, and ultimately murder. Welcome back to Dark Doors, where we post solved, unsolved, and strange cases happening to Kenyans in Kenya and beyond. If you appreciate our true crime storytelling, then please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Daniel Mwangi Wangondu was born in 21st March 1988 as the firstborn son to Stephen Wang'ondu Kanini and Scholastic Wasuka. He was born and raised in Muiga town. He grew up so close to his dad that even he was entrusted to manage some of his father's businesses from a very young age. As days went by, Mwangi found his love in 2015 and the two got married. Stephen, Mwangi's dad, supported his son so much that he gave him a house in Wendiga village and also helped Mwangi set up his own businesses. Sadly, when they hit their 4th year of marriage, the couple began fighting, arguing a lot, and it became a frequent occurrence for them to break up and Susan to frequently leave their matrimonial home. Those close to the couple alleged that their numerous fights and breakups were over a range of things including infidelity. They also claimed that between 2019 and 2020, the frequency of their fights increased, and around February in 2020, it worsened and Susan walked out of their matrimonial home and went to his father-in-law's home. Stephen Wang'ondu, the supportive dad he was, gave Susan a house on his compound and he even set up a business for her. The relationship between Mwangi and his dad, Stephen Wang'ondu, took a tragic turn when Mwangi learned of this. He became furious that he even confronted his dad over his decision to house his estranged wife. Things got even worse when furious Mwangi started fighting with his dad on several occasions, and he even started threatening to unalive him. So basically, Mwangi was accusing his dad of having an affair with his wife. All this time, Stephen didn't see the seriousness of the matter until one day when Mwangi walked to him in broad daylight at Muiga town, and they fought for quite some time, which left Stephen humiliated, and he even started thinking of a permanent solution. So Stephen Wang'ondu facilitated his driver James Mahinda with 20,000 Kenya shillings, instructing him to form a team that would discipline Mwangi on his behalf. He also promised Mahinda a piece of land if he would execute the plot. So James accepted the deal, and on December 29, 2020, he called his longtime friend from Embu, Geoffrey Warutuma, asking him to get workers who would be tasked with disciplining errant employees. The next day, that was on December 30, 2020, James Mahinda visited Geoffrey at his Mogoka shop in Embu, persisting in his request. So Geoffrey called his customer, Eddie Gary, who was actively looking for employment, and he connected him to James. Eddie Gary and James Mahinda then added another person, one Raphael Washira, who would help with the job. So James briefed them on the job, and the three traveled to a popular hotel in Nyeri in readiness to start the job. Few minutes later, James left the hotel to a local hardware in Muiga town, where he purchased a metal rod that would be used to kill Mwangi. The next day, that was on December 31st, 2020, we all know New Year's Eve attracts a lot of excitement, especially for partygoers, and this was not different for Daniel Mwangi. So he joined friends at a local pub where they got their drinks and all that. When all this was happening, James was keeping an eye on Mwangi, where he would constantly inform Eddie and Raphael on his whereabouts. After hours of clubbing, Mwangi left a local club to go home, and he was never seen alive again. He met his murderers at his gate front, where he was stabbed several times and his lifeless body left soaked in a pool of blood. On January 1st, 2021, at around 6 a.m., Eddie informed James Mahinda that their mission had been completed. James Mahinda then went to Stephen Wang'ondu, Mwangi's dad, informed him, and immediately he was given 160,000 to pay his men. James then proceeded to pay Eddie and Raphael a ransom of 100,000, where they gave him 8,000 to pass to Geoffrey Warutumo in appreciation of the job connection. After that, all the three went into hiding. Meanwhile, in the wee hours of January 1st, 2021, residents of Muiga town woke up to chilling news of the death of Daniel Mwangi. The motive of the murderers was unknown, since they took nothing from him, not even his Volkswagen golf car that was still at the scene of crime. They informed Muiga police officers, who immediately ran into the scene of crime, and investigations on who would have killed Mwangi started. In the meantime, Mwangi's family and friends started the burial plans, and on January 6, 2021, he was laid to rest at his father's home in Wendiga village. Just 12 days after Mwangi's burial, Stephen Wang'ondu started processing compensation claims from an insurance company, and this gave the investigation officers a clue on what could have led to Mwangi's death. This investigation also triggered the detectives' interest in the death of Stephen Wang'ondu's other son in 1985, after which he was allegedly paid a good amount of money by an insurance company. The 18-year-old Emmanuel Thuita Wangondu, who was a Form 3 student at Kiangaja Secondary School, was said to have drowned in one of the dams in Wangondu's expansive farm. A few days after Thuita's burial, Stephen lodged a compensation claim with an insurance company which he had insured all his family members, his employees, some of his friends, and also his property. So after weeks of unraveling all the pieces of the puzzle, the detectives discovered that Mwangi's father, Stephen Wang'ondu, was the mastermind behind Mwangi's gruesome murder. And so the DCI ordered Stephen Wang'ondu Kanini to be arrested for interrogation. The investigators then went ahead to extract Stephen's phone data, trying to get the bottom of this whole story. And what they found was exactly what they needed to uncover what really happened to Daniel Mwangi. It was like the last nail on the head that would shed light on the plot that led to his gruesome murder. They found Stephen's conversation with his driver James Mahinda just weeks prior to Daniel's murder. This positioned James Mahinda as a person of interest, and he was immediately arrested. Just like Stephen, the investigators extracted his phone data and they found suspicious conversations between James, Geoffrey, Eddie, and Raphael just days into Mwangi's death. All the three, that is Geoffrey Warutumo, Eddie Gare, and Raphael Washira, got arrested, and immediately Geoffrey and James showed some remorse and they were ready to talk to the police. And so the prosecution decided to enter into a plea bargain with Geoffrey Warutumo and James Mahinda. They would use them as state witnesses. The duo, as expected, spilled all the beans by confessing to everything that took place, and this was in exchange for a lesser charge of negligent homicide. James told of how he had been hired by Stephen Wang'ondu to look for contract killers in exchange of 160,000 and a piece of land. He gave a detailed account of how Stephen Wang'ondu orchestrated the murder of his son, and the motive was to punish Mwangi for leaving him humiliated during the public fight in Muiga town. He also accounted driving Stephen to Regional Commander's office in Nyeri several times and to the insurance company to present the postmortem results saying that Mwangi died of an accident. Note, this would happen barely days after Mwangi's burial. However, it seemed that Stephen had so many problems at hand to deal with. Apart from Mwangi, he had been struggling to keep his businesses afloat for a whole year, and at this particular time, his two prime plots had been actioned and he needed to sort the matter as fast as he could. So, he would have plotted for Mwangi's gruesome murder so that he would receive the compensation from the insurance company. Geoffrey Warutumo, on the other hand, confessed of being asked to fight James, the said killers. He gave a detailed account of how he overheard James telling Raphael and Eddie that they would receive 100,000 Kenya shillings if they accepted the job offer, but he never bothered to ask the job details. He later received 4,000 Kenya shillings from James Mahinda, and on February, he received a phone call from James telling him to look for Eddie Gary and Raphael Wachira and inform them to switch off their phones because the police officers were looking for them. So James was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment and 1 year suspended. As at now, he has completed his jail term and he is now free. Geoffrey was released few months later after it was established that the police officers had no evidence against him linking him to the murder, as he did not leave Embu town on the day of the killing. Eddie Gary and Raphael Kariuki have been in custody for the past 2 years, but recently, that was around September 2023, they pleaded guilty after signing a plea bargain with the prosecution in exchange of a lesser charge from death penalty for murder to a lighter sentence of imprisonment. They are still in custody as the trial continues. As for Stephen Wang'ondu Kanini, he was charged with orchestrating the killing of his son in Muiga. He stayed in custody for 3 months, and in May 2021, he was released with 1 million bond. However, few days later, he died at Outspan Hospital in Nyeri out of health complications. This made the DPP drop the murder charges against him. As for Mwangi, no one deserves to die in such a way. May his soul rest in peace. So folks, we have come to the end of Stephen Wang'ondu and Daniel Mwangi's story. I hope you found this video informative. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. There are many shocking ahead of you.